Okay, so today I have another G boxing one, and I feel like I'm the only one actually reviewing G boxing equipment, and I think it's pretty crazy because G boxing equipment is pretty awesome, honestly, in my opinion. I really enjoy their stuff. So this one is going to have a long title. This one's going to be the G Boxing Italia 100 GHS1 Horsehair Sparring Gloves Lace. Okay, so that is kind of a longer name. And it essentially is a glove that is in black. I like them in black because they only offer two colorways, which is, I think they had like a white and a blue, and this was obviously the black version of it. But ultimately, these are something I really wanted because they were obviously made in Italy, and they were a horsehair glove with Italian EVA foam and stuff like that. So I got these in 16 ounces. And I do love the fact that there's a 16-ounce indicator here, and it's embroidered here along with the Italian flag colors here, and it says GHS1. I do really like this. I like the indicators being kind of something that can't go away or can't rub off that quickly. A lot of times you'll see gloves have that little piece of paper there with the indicator, and I just feel like that's something that they could do better at, but ultimately they do a really good job here with the indicator. I am going to weigh these because lately I've been kind of getting dinged up with some gloves that might be underweight a lot of the time. These ones don't feel that way, so I will weigh them to see what they give me, and I'm going to see. This one is 16.37. That's good so far. And this one is 16.51. Okay. So 16.37 and 16.51 is pretty respectable. I like it. It's respectable. And I like the fact that it's overweighted by a little bit rather than being underweight. But I've been getting hit with some gloves that have been underweight. So it's good to have this one be like a little bit, one of them is about a half an ounce underweight, and the other one is, a little under that. So that's not that bad at all. So I do appreciate that. Obviously, these gloves are handmade in Italy. So, and all this is the leather here. There's something I want to talk about as well. The leather is going to be what they say crafted with the finest Italian cowhide leather. I believe it. I will say that the leather itself is very soft and supple on the top end portion, right? On the punch surface as well. It has this nice, very soft, and it smells really good, by the way. The leather smells really nice, so it does have this really premium feel in terms of the leather. I will say it's not the thickest leather, so if I were to pinch this leather, it's pretty thinnish. It's not going to be like that thick Mexican like glove leather that you might see out there that has really thick, durable leather feel. This necessarily doesn't have that on this side of the glove. On this side of the glove, as you can see, especially even on the thumb portion, the leather does change. The texture of the leather does change, and it is more rough, and it doesn't feel the thickest, but it feels thicker than this portion of the glove. So this whole palm side has that very kind of more of a rough feel to it. Definitely not as smooth, so just keep that in mind. So it's constantly like two different types of leather almost, it feels like. So I think it actually looks kind of cool, and it makes the glove look a little sharp. This isn't too rough. I wouldn't be too concerned about it with the sparring partners or anything. It's not that crazy, but it's just a lot different than the actual top portion of the glove. When it comes to the liner of the glove, I don't know what the liner is specifically. It does give me vibes of, like that Venom Pro Series gloves, which the liner itself is very thin. That's how I feel. When I'm touching this liner, it has this very thin feel to it. And if I pinch it, it feels very thin. And it reminds me of kind of like a polyester nylon type liner. But on the website, it doesn't mention what type of liner it is, but I do feel it there. Very thin, in my opinion. There is no tags on the inside to indicate anything. I wish they had some tags that would indicate what the glove was made of or where the glove was made specifically, but they don't. So, I wish they did that, but no big deal. On the inside, when it comes up to the liner up here up on top, it does get a little baggy up top here. It's not a big deal because the fingertip compartment of the glove is something that I do want to talk about, that there is absolutely no bagginess there, and it is very, very unique to this glove. So I do want to talk about the fingertip compartment a little later, but that is very, very important about these gloves and what makes these gloves extremely unique. The padding, they also mention, is a high quality Italian horsehair and EVA foam. So what I could see here, this glove doesn't give me the impression that it's like a super horsehair glove. It doesn't have all the crazy bumps and grooves of a horsehair glove. And not all horsehair gloves do. I'm just saying because of that, I have the assumption that it's going to be essentially two EVA foam layers that is going to be sandwiched, and in the middle it's going to be horsehair. Now in terms of the padding itself, you see that it's decently padded, has a good amount of thickness here. I'll get more into the density of it, but it's not a crazy horsehair glove in which you would automatically put it on and think that your knuckles are going to pierce through. Absolutely not. So keep that in mind. In terms of the size profile of the glove, I do want to talk about that. I think this glove, in my opinion, is a more of a medium to compact glove. And I'm saying medium to compact because I do feel like it's compact, but there is portions, like if I turn this glove over, there is a lot here. It is a little bit poofy on the fingertip area, and that might take away from how compact the glove itself might be. I will have, let me see if I can, I'll show you another G-boxing glove. These are going to be the Cuban HFF1 16-ounce gloves, right? These ones I consider more of a compact glove, even though when you look at them side by side, they don't look very different. But for some reason, like these ones have this thinner profile. When you put them on, they feel a little more slim. So I do feel like this is a compact glove, and this is essentially a compact glove, but this one's a little less compact than this one, if that makes any sense. I'll also put in the other Italian-made glove from G-Boxing, and these are going to be 16-ounce GHS1s, and these gloves essentially are wider, and they're kind of more of the sparring glove, and these are just specifically EVA foam type glove, and you can see how wide they are compared to the horsehair and the EVA foam. Okay, so that's just a quick look at how I believe these gloves are kind of on the compact side. It's really hard to show you that they're on the compact side through the videos. I know that a lot of people they always try to guess, but you know, once you get the gloves, everyone's always going to be shocked at how they're going to be smaller than they expected or bigger than they expected, but I try my best. Now, when it comes to the style of the glove, I obviously love how they do the styling here. I love the G. The G goes up, the G goes down on one, the G goes up on the other. In terms of that logo, it's very, very secure. I see no issues with this logo ever coming off, essentially. It probably will eventually in the future, but this is very, very tough. I've had these gloves for a while, so I put them through it already, and I don't see any problems with the logo, so I love that. I love the fact that they have a debossed G-Boxing brand right here, and it's kind of like a sunken in feel. That, I like that a lot. I think it's sharp, and I think it allows, you know, that kind of brand to stay on there for a very long time without wearing away. And I just like the styling of it. It's also inverted here too. So you see the G starts here on the bottom and you see the G starts here on the top, and then it goes the opposite direction from each other. So I think it's a nice touch that they kind of give you that, the difference in the two gloves. In terms of, like I said before, you have the embroidery here, 16-ounce indicator, GHS1. I wish a lot of gloves did this, at least did this here, or either on the grip bar. I think that would be fantastic as well. I think it's a great looking glove so far. In terms of the stitching, I have zero problems with the stitching with this glove, and I think the glove is pretty sharp. I mean, you might look at some of the portions here, the cuts, that might be a little bit more on the raggedy end, especially here on this thumb attachment. You might see that it could have been a better cut, but I don't really see that as a problem. I'm not a huge person or a huge guy on making sure that the stitching is absolutely perfect. I think that gloves are meant to be beat up and abused and all that types of fun stuff. So I'm not crazy on that. But in terms of the stitching itself, you get the double stitching all the way across. It loops around. And, you know, you have the single stitch right here, then double stitching coming up from up on the grip bar on both sides. It's really hard to probably see it because the stitching is the same color as the glove, which is black, which I prefer. I'm not a big fan of the person who likes a black glove, or a glove that has, like, you know, it's black but it has white stitching, because I think that gets dirty and looks kind of gross after a while. Also, a thing that I do like is the fact that they have black laces. Now, I love that too. I like colored laces that are darker because, you know, if you are using them for sparring, a lot of the time you will get blood on these things. And you're going to have to use them. A lot of times it's going to get really dirty and grimy and you're going to see it. So black does mask that very well. Only problem with these is that they're very short. The laces are extremely short. I wish they were a little longer. So keep that in mind. In terms of the styling of the glove right now, you see that there is kind of this cool, I would say like a winning-esque thumb. It's definitely slimmer, and it's not as thick as other thumbs, and it allows your thumb to kind of sit in there in a cool way. It kind of, it's not like a huge Mexican thumb that you'll see there. Your hands are gonna, your thumbs are gonna be swimming around. It's not like that. I like the fact that it's a little more secure. I enjoy the thumbs here, and obviously you see that it has a difference in leather. Now, you see that there's the detached thumb. I don't see any problems there with the pulling of the leather. I think they did a really good job here, but there is a detached thumb. The cuff itself, I think it's nice. I wish, you know, I do enjoy throughout the years having a cuff that's either a double cuff or, you know, even a triple cuff, because then you're able to cinch up the laces a little better. And this glove is fine. You could cinch them up and then essentially tie them up top here. Like you can see kind of the wear and tear that I have because of that over here. But, you know, it's not a huge deal. But, you know, sometimes I like that, the option to cinch up the glove in more ways than just, you know, crossing and then putting it up on top. So, yep, that's that. In terms of the padding in the wrist department, as you can see, there is decent padding, but I think it's about, I would say maybe a ½ inch, and it's soft. You know, the back is obviously more firm. The back is more firm, but the front is very soft. Now, it's not a huge deal because, you know, I think people like this just as much as they might like a super secure glove. Some people like to manipulate their wrists a little more, so I'm not saying it's a negative whatsoever, but it doesn't have the most padding, so if you're looking for that in a glove, I wouldn't really necessarily recommend this one. Soft, it has a soft wrist, so keep that in mind. Now, in terms of, I want to get into the grip bar here. It's a dense grip bar, but it's kind of like, I feel like it's too small for the space that they have here. But essentially it feels dense. It almost feels like a rubber tube. It's very dense though. And I would say it's not the biggest, but it's not the smallest. So I would say medium to small, but then you have a really nice density to it. You definitely feel it when you put your hands in it. So I think they did a good job here, but it is moving around a little bit in this casing that they have here. They probably could have made it a little bit bigger, in my opinion, because I do like bigger grip bars, but not everyone does. Now, when I get to the comfortability of the glove, once I put my hand in the glove, you're going to see, oh, also just to let you guys know, there's no air holes in this glove as well. That's shocking, but not too big of a deal, because I've seen many gloves, even the best gloves in the world, don't have air holes, but I wish this glove did. But obviously air holes are not, you know, they're not the, you know, just because the glove doesn't have air holes doesn't mean you shouldn't buy it. Very comfortable when you put your hands in. Now, there is it's decently snug, right? It's not too snug, but it is snug. I feel my hand's kind of encased with the inside of it. It doesn't mean that it can't be manipulated and you can't put extra padding. So if you want to put like a knuckle guard and all that stuff, you can do those things. There's no problem there. The thumb itself is extremely comfortable. I like it, and it's, you know, even though it might seem like it kind of pokes out a little bit, trust me, I cannot jam my thumb whatsoever. Like I'm hitting the thumb and there's no jamming. So I think that's fantastic. They did a good job on the thumb. Yeah, so when my hands in here, it's extremely comfortable. Now, the one thing I do want to talk about, and this is probably the most unique thing about the glove entirely, is the fact that the glove has this neoprene that is so thick. It's like this thick in here, and it's flapping inside of the fingertip compartment. Now, it's not sewn in with the glove or anything like that. It's literally like a flapping piece of neoprene. And you put your hands over it, and then you have to then hold it down, and then it makes you, like, you know, essentially your fingers become like very, very stuck in that position, and it feels awkward at first, and I just couldn't really grasp it on why they did that, but it is very unique, and it makes it so that, you know, your fingers are in place. But the problem with that is that it adds extra, like, less space in the fingertip compartment. And because of this portion right here, I mean, the fingertip compartment is deeper down. It goes down deep, which is nice. But this portion right here is a little bit on the thin side. So my fingers were bunching. My fingers were bunching up like this. And my pinky finger was over my ring finger, essentially. And then I had to maneuver the inside neoprene. And I think it was a unique thing. I know I saw 1v1 Fight Gear talk about how they had this in their PTE gloves. And I had to look at a video that he had to figure out how to fix it, because essentially the neoprene was rolled up on one corner and making my left pinky push up while the rest of my other fingers were pushed down. So I know it's hard to explain. You're probably not going to understand what I'm saying, but the neoprene itself, you put your hands over the neoprene, then you clamp it down, and then it puts your hands and the fingers in the position, and it secures your fingers. Now, doing that, it does allow you to feel that grip bar very nicely on the inside, and it does allow you to open your hand very wide and still keep your fingers in a good position. Sometimes when you open your hands with other gloves, your fingers slide around. This one, not so much, because of that big piece of neoprene. So you can see I can open my hands wide. I can close them and open them. Very, very easy to manipulate the hands here. Now, I am not making a fist, and I am not opening my hands, and this is just how the hand compartment put my hands, right? So as you can see, it's very open already. So if I open them even more, it'll probably get to that, you know? So it's already open. So right now, this is kind of how it is, and then I open it a little more, and it only does it a little bit. So it's a glove that already kind of puts your hands in an open position, which I do like for sparring, and I do really, I do like it for the bags as well. I don't think it's that big of a deal. For if you want to hit mitts and stuff, sometimes I like hitting mitts with gloves that already have a closed fist, but I don't think it's a big deal. It gives me like this feeling that it's kind of like a punch, like a fight glove a little bit, because I do like my fight gloves doing this as well. So I'm a little torn about it, because I like the feeling of it, but I think that if this portion was just a little bit wider, I think it'd be no problem. But because I'm concerned about other people's hands who might have bigger hands, it might be an issue. You might have, you know, your fingers might cramp up in there, and you might have some problems. But other than that, you know, it's a good thing and a bad thing, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. Now, in terms of the punch position of the glove, you can see how much my fists are right here. So they're in a really good position. So when I do punch and I do grasp down, the glove itself does a good job at making sure my knuckles itself will hit the spot that it needs to hit. So it does a good job. But also the really good job that it does is that this is an extremely large punch surface. So it does allow you to really hit the bags with a lot of the glove. And I think that's pretty cool too, because when you have a bigger punch surface, it does give you kind of a different type of thud than other gloves. And I do like the bigger punch surface, so just keep that in mind. All right, so what I want to do now is kind of give you kind of a pop test. Now, Now it's going to be hard because every time you get a glove with another bag, depends on the bag that makes, or it depends on you just punching it as well. If you snap a shot, you're going to get a bigger pop. If the bag is a different type of density, you're going to get a better pop. So it really depends on what you're working on or whatever. But it's not too bad. And for a horsehair glove, I think it's not as much as I expected it to be in terms of pop. But it feels nice because of that flat punch surface. Now, I think it's not a huge deal. But, you know, to some people, the pop is the most important thing. I've noticed when I use the glove, it starts to flatten even more and more and more, and the glove starts to look kind of warped like this. And then it kind of goes back to normal. The padding is something I do want to talk about. I'm going to say this is a nice medium padding. I can't feel my knuckles. I mean, I guess I could if I really, really try hard. I could feel them. But as you can see, a lot of the padding is on this fingertip compartment. And when you actually get to the knuckle portion, it's not that much padding. So there's decent padding on the glove, but my knuckles are like here. So we're talking about the slight, like all the padding is, a lot of it's down here. So my knuckles are up here. I do feel like there's a tad bit of a shock if you're hitting very well. But this is a lot of padding. It does a really good job of protecting your hands. I don't see a problem so much with this glove even being used for sparring because it doesn't necessarily feel like a crazy horsehair glove that's going to sink in. Now, obviously, if you say horsehair to anybody, they're going to say no. But the glove itself is over 16 ounces. The padding, like I said, is EVA foam. And there is horsehair, but it doesn't seem like it's just a pure horsehair type of glove. It doesn't give you that impression. It doesn't even feel that way. So I think it's a pretty solid glove. When it comes to everything around the gym, I love it on the bags, and obviously in the pads, I still love them. And, in terms of the sparring, I wish I had more experience with them in sparring. But like I said, it's pretty hard to test out horsehair gloves with people because they're not really into the horsehair. So that being said, I've done some light stuff with it, but I haven't really put it through the paces, essentially, with the sparring. So take it as you will. I think it's perfectly fine. I think the padding is perfectly fine. So that's just my opinion, though. And also, I do want to talk about the price of the glove, the price itself. The glove, the reason why I jumped on these, I wanted these gloves a while ago, but the reason why I jumped on them now is because they were like 175 pounds, which is like 236 US dollars. And that might seem like a lot of money, but essentially it's an Italian made glove with Italian leather and, like I said, Italian horsehair, Italian EVA foam. So everything was the Italian, and I thought that was a fantastic buy, especially for a horsehair glove, because the original price was crazy. It was like 350 pounds, and that was going to convert to 472 US dollars. Now, keep in mind, even though I paid $236 for this, I also had to pay shipping, and I also had to pay duty fees from Geezer's Boxing. So at the end of the day, I had to pay almost $300 for these. Still way less than the original price was. That's why I didn't pay for it in the previously, because it was so high before, and now they're having such a killer sale on it. I had to bite and I had to take them because I wanted to see how good they really were. But that is the price of these gloves. Final thoughts, I think the gloves perform well. They're great. For the price of $236, I think they're solid. Yeah, I have no problems with it. I think they're unique, and I think that's the part that I like about them the most. Now, it might not be for everyone because it's a little different, but ultimately, yeah, $236 is fine. In the United States, if you have to pay duty fees and all that stuff, hitting up to $300, I feel always uncomfortable doing that. But I really do like these gloves. I love the smell of them. I think the quality of them is really, really nice. I think they look really nice, and I think they perform really nice. The little things that I would change is that fingertip compartment could be a bit bigger. The neoprene is obviously unique, so people might like that. Some people might hate that. The laces are a tad bit short, and I wish they probably had air holes. Other than that, I think that it's a pretty solid glove and a solid buy. So those are my final thoughts. So if you buy these, you probably enjoy them, especially if you're a glove enthusiast.